Hey guys, what's going on? Greg from Tales from the Pythian here, and I'm back with another Game Master video for this week. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be talking about D&D 5e. We're not going to be talking about Shadow Dark. We're going to move away from the fantasy genre for just a minute. We're going to explore a little bit of dark horror. So today I'm using the Cypher System. I'm going to talk about some of the other tools that I used as well, and just talk a little bit about Cypher System in general, not, and just what I did to set this game up kind of in a very macro level. So first of all, Old Gods of Appalachia. What's that? It's a podcast. It is actually a horror anthology podcast set in an alternate Appalachian universe. Time frame wise, you can think like Cthulhu. So late 1800s through, the early part of the 20th century. I think they have some stories on the podcast that go all the way up into the early 90s, but for our purposes, we set this game in the year 1912 in Hot Springs, North Carolina. I live in North Carolina, not in Hot Springs, unfortunately. It's beautiful. That is a real place. To do the game, which was this game for me is episodic. I try to do it kind of inspired by the podcast. So this story took 4 sessions to tell, 5 sessions if we count the session 0. Okay. The premise of the story was that the Reverend John Barton, 10 years ago, the Reverend John Barton, his wife and his daughter had gone down to the river to spend the morning, decided to stay longer. John Barton went back to town to fetch a picnic lunch. On the way into town, the wheel on his wagon broke, and he was delayed about 2 hours. And in that time, whatever transpired. And when he got back to the river, he could not find his wife and daughter. He searched everywhere. Finally, he found them, unfortunately, drowned, caught up in the rocks of the low rapids of the river a bit to the south of town. This really devastated the Reverend, and he questioned his faith, right? Why? I've done all these things to serve the holy. And it opened up these cracks and opportunities in him for the dark things to crawl inside. And that's what Old Gods of Appalachia is all about. It's about those dark things, the things that reside in the inner dark that try to corrupt the land or the people. And so the Reverend was corrupted, and he made a deal, and that deal granted him some power. And with that power, what he had to do is he had to provide souls to the inner dark, and he did that by twisting the sacrament of baptism and creating a false belief that baptism was a perpetual thing that had to happen. You didn't just do it one time; you did it every so often to reaffirm your beliefs. And he would then pick and choose individuals, and he would sacrifice them to a being or a thing called a hate tree, which would absorb these people and their energy into itself and transfer that energy to the inner dark. And so they had to figure this out, and they had to stop him, right? And that's what they did, and it was pretty cool. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about, some of the setup. So I'll start with the landing page. You guys know me if you've watched some of my other videos. I love landing pages. I just did one specifically on Benios Battle Maps, Curse of Strahd landing page, which is awesome. This particular one here is much like the Shadow Dark one that you saw. This is driven by Bailey Wiki's landing pages. The only thing I did here was I created a custom image over in Pixlr is what it's called. It's an AI photo editing software. I took 2 images that I created in Midjourney and the logo from Old Gods of Appalachia, layered them together with some opacity changes, and then brought them in and placed them in the background. I then created this text also over in Pixlr because it will do text as well. I brought it in with a transparent background, and then I used token magic effects to apply a filter to it to give it this effect that looked like it was underwater or drowning, right? So that was the title of the adventure, Whispers of the Drowned, because it was inevitably the whispers of the drowned of Elizabeth Barton and Emily Barton, the daughter, to the player characters that keyed them off that the Reverend was really at the heart of this. So Whispers of the Drowned. So if we go over to the family tab, I just want to share the characters that played in this game because it was really cool. So the Cypher System. The Cypher System is a really cool rule set. It's written by Monte Cook. Monte Cook, formerly of Wizards of the Coast, he wrote the 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and he created Numenera. And then subsequently after that, full-on release of the Cypher System. Cypher System is a very story-oriented system, in my opinion. I love it. I think you can play any genre with it. You can wrap anything around the bones of this system. Like if you want to play Old Gods of Appalachia, no problem. You want to do a game in World War II in your own setting? No problem. You want to do 1920s Chicago Prohibition? Absolutely no problem. A friend of mine just ran a one-shot of that, and it was super awesome. You want to run a game about going to the laundromat and having to get your clothes clean in time? You can do it. I know that sounds crazy, but it's a very strong system. It's very cinematic in nature, and it really lends itself to creativity and role-playing. So if you've ever played Cypher System, or if you have not, the characters are developed based on a sentence structure. So like a Dohi here, he's a tongue-tied sage who walks these woods. So tongue-tied is the descriptor, sage is the character type, and the foci is who walks these woods. And I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that at all. But it's really neat how it all comes together. So anyway, the land. So this is Hot Springs, North Carolina, circa 1912. And I want to talk just for a minute about how I made this map. So I used Incarnate. I know a lot of you out there are familiar with Incarnate. It's a web-based map making software. There's a free version that allows you to make up to so many maps. But I think all of the other functionality, even in the free version, is the same. So what I did here was I went to Google Earth and I took a snapshot of Hot Springs in the orientation that I wanted. I didn't want this top down. I wanted a little isometric view. And then I put it into Incarnate as a custom tile, and I made it at my lowest layer. And then I just started building on top of it, right? And building on top of it and building on top of it. And you can see that worked out. It worked out really, really well. So modern Hot Springs, North Carolina, and then my version of 1912 Hot Springs, North Carolina. So this is a cool technique, and it works really well. I've done it with this game. I've done it with Shadow Dark, taking like the hex map of the curse scroll and bringing it in here and kind of getting the grids lined up and doing the same thing and building it out. So always a way to kind of get what you need with the tools that we have, right? So Incarnate, pretty brilliant. Once this was done, again, they really are only referencing this inside the game. Most of my players, when they're looking at this map, they're actually looking at it over here in Legend Keeper. I've talked about this before. So in Legend Keeper, I'm able to, place specific locations, flesh out information both for myself and for my players. And a lot of them will look over here during the game just so they can say, like, click on the Mountain Park Hotel and get some general information. Like, what was that guy's name again? And then, of course, I have my secret information that's always, down there in the purple secret brackets. So this is a really great platform for that. And I actually put a link for it in one of my other games. I put a link for it directly inside of Foundry, which was pretty neat. So the map. So we have the landing page. We have the map. Player resources. This is straight Foundry, vanilla Foundry right here. So the Books, Cypher System core books. I put the PDFs in here for reference. This is really cool. If they're bookmarked, it pulls those bookmarks in, and your players can jump around and go right to them, or go right to anything that they want to go to, anything that they want to check, right? If they want to look at their character type, they can come in here and they can find their character type and they can read about it or remind themselves of, you know, anything that they need to. It's really great. It's a great feature of Foundry, and I recommend that you use it no matter what system you're using, right? You can really get some value out of that, and it's simple to do. So next, I set the town up a little bit differently, right? So there's a lot of locations, as you can see here, right? So we have Cletus's house, Adohi's camp, the Stoddard farm, the boarding house, the jail, the library, the general store, on and on and on. Like, we have all these different locations, right? So that's a lot of scenes to set up. And I really wanted this game to be more theater of the mind and cinematic in feeling than is typical, right? A lot of my 5e games, I'll have like one or two theater of the mind images, and then a lot of like top-down battle maps, because I tend to get a little bit crazy with, you know, stuff. But regardless, so I took an approach I had seen by another creator on YouTube. It goes by the name of Axiom. He does Foundry videos for his 5e games, but he set up one of his scenes like this, sort of like this, where he's got a main tile, which is what we've got going on here, a main tile. And if I click inside the main tile and go to the triggers tab, I have a whole list of images, right? All of these images correlate to these thumbnail images on the side. And each of these images is also a tile. And if I go to the triggers, you can see that it switches the tile image for the main tile, which is the tag I have on the tile with all the images in it, to a specific number. And they're each one correlates with the number of the image in the list, right? So if I were to switch to the church, it would be number whatever. It'd be number, let's see, triggers, actions, 9, right? So that's number 9. This is number 1, each one. And so it will change on the double click to that. I have some of them that are stacked with, they'll switch the tile image, they'll clear weather effects if there are any, they'll alter the sky, they'll stop playlists, they'll start playlists, right? You can do all that sort of thing. So if you're looking for a specific sound, like when I go from, let me go back to my token layer. So if I were to go, say, from this black and white image of the mountain park inn, or a hotel rather, if I were to go, when I go from this image to its color version, the idea that I wanted to kind of do here was, hey, I'm reading to you right now the introduction to this story, and you're kind of getting a little bit of the background in a very static perspective. But as I get a little bit further, like in the last paragraph of that description in the scene setting, then we double click on the colored image and we transition to the colored image, and there's audio that starts to play that is birds chirping and other signs of life, right? So we've got the so we have some intro ambient music that starts playing, and that part of that is birds chirping and then like a little bit of music in the background, and it works out really well. The other benefit of this is that I'm not, like we talked about, I'm not jumping from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene and loading times and pulling in and all this sort of thing. Because everything's in such a close proximity, because it's a town, I can very easily, we can move in between scenes. Also with the tokens, you can tell that I did very theater of the mind with these tokens. They're just hidden. So as I switch scenes, as an example, let's go to the diner, right? So I switch scenes, I grab this NPC, I right click, I unhide her, and now here we have Alexander Jones, who works at the diner, and she's, doing her thing. Oh, we're going to go to the boarding house. Cool. I'll just hide her and I'll unhide Margaret Lawson. And now the players can interact with this NPC And the idea is that the images are increasing the immersion into the game and making you feel like you're in a space and a time with these NPCs. It worked out pretty good. I was pretty happy with it, right? You know, if we went to the church, I've got the Reverend back here. If we went to other places, I can just, you know, I can drag these on and drag them off, and I just have them kind of sitting to the side, ready to go. And you know, you can scale them, no problem, whatever you want to do. These glowing ones, these are the Reverend's wife and daughter. They're just normal tokens, and I applied a token magic effects filter to make them look like they were spectral. And I think that is the name of the filter, is something along the lines of spectral. So that's how I did the majority of the scenes. I do have some, as you can see right here, that river's moving. Some of these are web videos and not images. I think I have 1, 2, 3 that are image files in here that work just the same. So if I go over here, once it loads up, it takes the videos just a minute, but once it loads, the river is running. And so now we have a live scene as well, and we're doing the same effect. The cool thing about this particular game playthrough was in the 4 sessions, I think we had 2 combats. And it was very organic. It wasn't me trying to prevent them or the players trying to find them. It just kind of happened. For the combats, I did use traditional battle maps. So I had this battle map at the river. This is a Benios battle map. You know, what can I say? I love Ben's maps. I use them a lot. In this instance, they dealt with some zombies, and Cypher zombies are pretty gnarly, let me tell you what. And then the final battle map that they dealt with was the church, where it all culminated, right? This is the tree back here that I spoke about. Here's the Reverend. And then this was another piece of software I talked about in a previous video. We used Dungeon Alchemist here to go in and create the church, and tried very hard to match it as close as I could to the AI image that I produced of the church, so that it looked, you know, somewhat similar. I feel like I got close enough for figuring on that one. But again, that really wasn't the point. You know, spot on accuracy wasn't the point. The point was, the focus is supposed to be the story. And in this game, I tried to use the scenes and the imagery to tell the story, and not so much be the background of like combat or whatever. So what was the outcome of it? I was happy with it. My players seemed to be exceptionally happy with it. I had been thinking about, when I completed this game, kind of putting it on the shelf and saying, yep, I ran that, and it was fun, you know, but that's that. My players weren't hearing that. I got some compliments that I'll tell you really made me blush a little bit. They loved the story. They loved the system. I'm very surprised at how much they loved the system. So credit to Monte Cook Games, and credit to Deep Nerd Media and Steve and Cam over there. It was really great. So I'm in the process of getting ready to start writing a new one. I've already had 2 players send me characters that they want to play in the next one. One character preparing to continue playing the character he played in this one. And you know, that's awesome. It's a good feeling when your players are you know, feeling that way at the end of the game. So anyway, you guys tell me, have you ever played Cypher System? What do you think about it? Have you ever heard Old Gods of Appalachia? What did you think about that? What do you think about those 2 things combined into a role-playing game to tell some stories? Like, I think it's fantastic, but I want to know what you guys think about it. So let me know down in the comments. Don't be shy. If there's something that you want to see specifically in one of these videos, don't be shy. Let me know down there. Definitely, if you watch the video and you enjoy what you're seeing, give me a thumbs up, give it a like. That really helps me out a lot. And you know, if you really like it, don't be afraid to subscribe. You know, that's that's something you can do, and you'll get notified the next time one of these comes up. And you know, I'd love it. But again, I'm Greg. This is Tales from the Pythian. We're live playing video games every Sunday from like 1 to 4, and then every Tuesday you're going to get a Game Master video from me right here. I hope that y'all have a good night, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.